Three levels.
Three levels. First, when he doesn't understand it without somebody explaining it to him. Second, when he understands it, but it's a subjective truth. And the third is when he understands it as a universal truth. And therefore, that's only then can he give it over to somebody else. Right? That's correct. So my question is when once he understands it on a level of universal truth, and therefore he can give it over, how come he can't? How come it's not accepted as a universal truth? And when you hear something, you have to go through that same process. First, you give over your universal truth, but then I have to take
See,
it.
the thing is like this. Uh, when you give it over, when you give over something that you understand, there are, by what right are you coming to trying to explain to me something? On what basis do you think I'm going to understand it? Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a rhetorical question.
It's not a rhetorical question. Yeah. Oh, you mean a rhetorical question? No, I don't mean it as a rhetorical question. How do you answer that question to yourself?
If you have a brain in your head, then you can understand it.
Maybe your brain understands it one way, and my brain understands it a different way.
It's a universal truth, though. It's
Ah,
understandable.
ah. So in other words, as long as you don't sense this as a truth, you won't even attempt to explain it. If you sense that this is what I think, so this is my preference. Not even the only way, the only reason that I would attempt to explain it to you is I just want to get you on my side, whether you agree with me. I just want to convince you of, or kind of blackmail you in thinking the way I do. But not that you will really agree with me, because how do I know? On what basis? This is what I prefer. But when I realize it, that this is a truth, when I go a little deeper, I see that this is really true, that's when I say, if this is a truth, everybody can see it. Now I have to try and bring it out to him, make him also see it.
But you can't just convey it with your clear understanding. Once you get to that level where it's a universal truth, because not only is what gives the person the drive to explain it, but he doesn't have the ability to give over that universal aspect of it.
He does, but he has to give it over through a gradual manner so that the other person will also begin to see it. You can't just throw it at him. Okay. The truth is that when you say something, when you are actually conveying what we call a universal truth, the other person can also recognize that this is a universal truth, but he will not be able to relate to it. In order for him to relate to it, you have to actually introduce it to him properly, so that he could see it. This is what we said yesterday. This is what happened by Yitzis Mitzrayim and Matan Torah. Eden saw that this is a truth, but they weren't prepared for it. They weren't really relating to it personally. They didn't deny it, but they really personally they didn't get to that. Okay, we're up to Hatam B'chol Zeh, as I recall it. Okay, yeah, this is about a quarter up from the bottom of the page. Hatam B'chol Zeh, whom it's ad Mailas Adibur. The line starts with the word Hispoilus. I'm sorry? Okay, I want to start there. I understand. Okay, we just started the singing. But this is what this is the starting of the singing. So we finished saying that when the seichel or midos are finally expressed in dibur, something happens to the seichel and midos. They kind of open up and get to a depth that through concentrated thought you will not be able to get to it. Dibur is somehow opening it up and getting you to the depth. What's called the oimeg haseichel, pnimis oimeg oir haseichel. What's in dibur? Dibur, as we said before, when in the beginning of this moment, that dibur is actually coming after machshava, and in order to come from machshava into dibur, there has to be a tzimtzum. You have to kind of eliminate the oir from machshava to come into dibur, and all of a sudden we see that dibur has a power to bring the seichel way beyond machshava. What is in this? It is because of the maila, the superior quality, the superiority of dibur, not as dibur is in its active state when they actually speak, because when they actually speak, speaking is a lower level than machshava. But b'shorshoy, in its source, in simple terms, it means speaking is much lower than machshava, but the ability to speak is higher than machshava. Shalamaylo gam misheresh umokel haseichel. The ability to speak, the shoyrash of dibur, is higher, is superior even than the source of seichel itself. Okay, we'll develop this as we go on. Ukiyodua, as is known, the shoyresh ha'oisiyos, that the source of oisiyos, and in our terminology this would mean the reason that I'm able to produce oisiyos is hey mi bechinas ha-keser. It is from the bechina of keser, from the aspect of keser. Excuse me. Shalamaylo mechochma, that which is higher than chochma. So keser and chochma, these terms refer to the spheres lamaylo and atzilus. Ubenefesh, and in the nefesh, hu bechinas atzmus hanefesh, the source of oisi is the keser, is the etzem hanefesh, shalamai lo mikei hachochma shebo, which is higher than the koyach of chochma that is contained in nefesh. Okay, so we'll stop here for a moment and try to get into this concept over here. What do we mean by keser that's higher than chochma? And what do we mean by atzmus hanefesh that's higher than the koyach ha-chochma? Koyach ha-chochma, we say, is the highest koyach in the person. Huh? Keser,
which is higher
than chochma. I said this term, the terminology of keser and chochma refers to the way it is in Atzilus. And in nefesh, the way this is reflected in nefesh ha'odam, this is atzmus ha-nefesh and koyach ha-chochma.
they're parallel.
Yeah, they're parallel in different levels, but they're parallel essentially. Normally, and I started saying, Chochmah is the highest koyach. And the sense that it is the highest koyach means that Chochmah is able to perceive the direct truth, not on the basis of arguments and reasons, but it actually is able to perceive it directly. Like we always explain the difference between re'iyah and shmiyah, sight and hearing. To hear something, you need all the arguments that support the point. But sight, you see it directly, you don't need any arguments. If you see, like, using the very simple example that is always very useful, you see a table standing, you don't need to explain to yourself, how come it's standing? You had 4 legs, that's why it's standing. You see it's standing, I have no doubt that it's standing. If you were told about it, then you would ask the question, but how come, how does this board stand up? I can understand. You'll say, oh, but there are 4 boards, 4 legs that are supporting it. But when you see it, you don't have a question. It's there and finished. Because there you see the etzem inyan. This is essentially what's in Chochmah. Chochmah, the seichel in Chochmah is direct. Like that's why it's called a spark. Like a spark that illuminates. And when it illuminates, when it's light, you see it. Just recognize the truth without further questions. Now, what then is referred to? What do you mean by atzmus hanefesh, which is higher than chochmah? So, we in our discussions have touched upon this many times. We took the moshel from nefesh hachiyunis, nefesh anushis, the human soul, the human attitude. Like we said, that a human being readily understands that behaving a human being is different than the behaving like an animal. He eats differently, he behaves differently, and he understands how. He has understanding what is the method. How do you really behave as a human being? A human being has to eat in a certain way, has to sit in a certain way, has to walk in a certain way, has to behave in a certain way. And he can describe it. This description of how he has to do it, this is in Chochmah and Bina. That describes what is the method, the proper method for his behavior. But what is the reason that this is the right way for him to behave? Where is the Chochmah get it from? What does it mean, this general statement, behave like a human being? That's a very general statement that says nothing. And yet everybody understands it. What do we understand there? We have the sense, the essence of what makes a human being different than an animal. This essence is what makes him understand how he should eat and how he should behave in every respect, in every aspect.
How is it coincide with the description you give about Chochmah? When you said that Chochmah is a perception.
No, one second. We always use the mashal of eating. Maybe it's already regurgitated, maybe you're sick of it. So we'll use another mashal. Another mashal is that if you have to get onto the subway and there are people, the doors are opening, and there are people getting off the train, and people have to get onto the train. So you stand aside, and you let people to get off, and then you get on. And you stand in line and let everybody get on in sequence. There's another way of doing it. Stand right in front of the doors. And as people are getting off, you squeeze through their feet and get onto the train. Right? And we readily say, no, the right way to do it, is to stand aside, let the people get off, and then get on. That's the right way to do it. It's not just a question of efficiency. This is the right way to do it. Okay? Now, let's understand and analyze this. This Indian, that this is the right way to do it, is already describing how we're supposed to behave. We're supposed to behave in this way. But in this description itself has not come from an external source. In other words, because I saw that when I stand in front of the door, I clash with the people that are coming out, and it hinders my entrance, it hinders his coming out, and people get annoyed with each other. So therefore I figured out that the best way is to stand aside. Okay. This would mean that you find out how to do it from a practical perspective, because it doesn't work any other way. Okay. This method of finding out, even a cat can also recognize, because it doesn't work any other way. If you go against me, I'm going to kick you in the face. Right? So the cat stands aside. Let you go through and then I'll go. Right? You can observe that happening all the time. A human being doesn't have to come to this method of realization, to this method of learning. Why? Because a human being has seichel. What does the seichel mean? Seichel, so somebody would argue, and I want you to follow this, we should understand, we use a lot of terms, and this will give us an insight, going to the essence of it. Some people will say that what is seichel? Seichel is that he can project. He doesn't actually have to go and have a clash in order to know that he's going to clash. He can project. He projects l'atchila that if I stand there, I'm going to clash with the people coming out, and therefore I'm going to stand aside. Okay, that seichel is the seichel of a smart cat. Okay, it's still the seichel of an animal, because it's still not talking about right and wrong. It's talking about, how is it going to work out for me? But that's not the reason that we say it is the right thing, the right way to do it. The reason we say it's the right way to do it, for some, we have a sense that for a human being, it's irrespectful. It's not respectful to do it that way. Okay, we can go and break it down into a lot of details, but I really don't want to go into that direction. We should be able to identify within this concept itself, since we're talking about seichel anushi, not about seichel aleki, so we should be able to identify the seichel and the etzem quite easily. The seichel, in other words, as a human being, we say, okay, what is the right way to do this? We say the right way is such and such. But this question, what is the right way to do it? Who are we asking that? Where are we going to get the answer from? Like, what is the right way to do it? We ask that question from our sense of our human respect, our human sense. In other words, there is a sense, what's called the essence of a human being. It's humanly correct to do it this way. And it's humanly incorrect to do it another way. There's the essence of the human being, and that I sense what a human being is. And then from this essence, I draw in Chokhmah and in Bina, I figure out the method, how it would be right under these circumstances to act. You follow what I'm saying?
So what you're asking is about kind of a Haskoma. Yeah, you're saying, you're asking like this, you're asking, is it the right way or not right way? That's what you're asking here. You don't ask him, like, how should I stay? Like,
No, you don't know. You don't know. You have no idea. You say, what is the right way to do this?
I ask him. So, no,
What is
you just broken down. You just broken down. The seichel is the means, meaning like the way it's going to be expressed. If I'm staying on the right side, on the left, whatever I'm doing, that's the seichel.
In the seichel itself, there is a chokhmah and the bina. Right, the seichel is describing the human sense. It's coming from the human sense, and is describing it. Let's put it this way: the first spark of this seichel is that I have to figure out a way that we will use the same door for exit and for entry, and we will not clash. That's the principle. That's the principle. Okay, this is like the spark of light. Oh, that's the way to do it. Not to clash. That's already the chokhmah within that level. Then you go and figure out, oh, not to clash. Okay, how do you do that?
But no, wasn't the same thing described by the smart cat that you would think that if this door would be just
No. Wait. The right way to do the right way. Not because it won't work any other way. The right way to do it is that we should respect each other. We shouldn't clash. Shouldn't walk into each other. Not because it's not going to work, but because that's the right way to do it. And then I go and step further and say, okay, how do I accomplish it? Okay. Now I'm asking, what makes me say that that's the right way? Why am I looking for for a way to say, oh, we shouldn't clash? Because I have a human sense. There's nothing to do with the practical in situation. As a human being, I know that I shouldn't clash. Okay. This is the essence. This is way beyond the seichel.
The human sense is the essence.
Yeah, this is the essence of that whole seichel.
Right, so it can't like come to the same conclusion.
I'm sorry?
So it can't like come to the same conclusion, but it only comes to the conclusion after it gets hurt.
The cat will come to the same practical conclusion, but not to the same seichel. He won't know what it's doing.
The conclusion, but the basis of the conclusion comes from different places. The human being comes from, in a sense, a cat comes from experience.
Well, wait. I want you to understand this. Yes, it comes to the same practical conclusion, but it's not doing what the human being is doing. When the human being stands aside, he's not just accommodating practical.
So I'm saying the cat came to this conclusion because it tried the other way that it didn't work for it. While the human being, that's his way to come to it.
Right, but I want you to go a step further. A human being, that's the way to do it. And when he does it He's not doing the same thing like the cat at all. The cat is avoiding getting kicked in the face, and he is doing the right thing. He's not doing the same thing at all.
So what led him to do it is not the same thing. He's doing the same thing, but what led him to do it?
No, he's not doing the same thing. It's the same action, but it has a different significance. See, I know, I want you to understand.
Significance is different, but the action is the same.
The cat is, yes, the action is the same, but the action means different thing. So therefore the action is a different one.
You're saying that he's exercising being human being. While
The action represents, is a different type of action.
It's like a person combing his hair and a monkey cocking.
Okay. The action has a different significance completely. He's not doing that. He is not trying to avoid a clash. It's a different thing completely. And the essence of it, the essence of the human being is that the human being, because he's a bar seichel, and he knows, in essence, that there is room in this world for everyone, and everyone belongs here. The people who are in the car are coming out, and people who are outside the car who have to come in. And everything in this world works in terms of time and space. So he knows that if he doesn't push, he's also going to get in. Everything has, there is a rational truth to this situation. Am I losing you?
No.
Wait. And so I'm going now further to understand, because we're talking about a low level, talking about the nushi, so we can really understand an essence. And from this, we'll be able to go deeper. What is the essence of the soul? Why is it that the human being can stand aside and say, this is the right way, and I can do it?
feel security? Is security?
No, it's not security. It's, yes, security is the animal level, is the lowest level of that seichel.
No, I'm saying, like what you're saying, he feels secure that he also will have his turn.
Right, but it goes a step further. It's true that if he's secure, then he's going to get through. Okay, this security is necessary to alleviate the pressure. Oh, I have to get in there. But this pressure is also by him a chitzonistic thing. The pneumistic inyan is that he recognizes the reality, the real reality, from a different perspective completely. Okay? What is the perspective? The animal knows only itself. And therefore, when I have to go from here to here, I have to go from here to here. All I'm concerned is that there, where I have to go. Everything else that's around me is an obstacle in my way. And therefore, I don't consider it. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in anything else but the fact that I have to go from here to there. It doesn't have a sense that there is a reality around him. And that you have to go there because this is a real place. This is where I want to go.
It's not a real thing, but it's a real place. It's a fake place?
Huh?
It's a fake place?
It's a fake place. What does it mean it's a fake place? It exists in my life only when I'm there. Before I'm there, it's not real. The reality that the human being recognizes in his seichel is what's called an absolute reality. Like we recognize, we always speak, you know the truth, even if practically speaking it looks differently. like we say to go to to a higher thing, not to a lakus, to kedusha, we say that, let's say the Beit HaMikdash was chorev, but really this is binyan. This was destroyed in order to build the real one. You know what I'm saying? To see a truth that is, to know that there is an overall, a real truth in existence, not just the momentary situation. So even on the level of enushius, as a human being, because he has seichel perceives things on the real level. And this reality, it puts him in that state of mind when he recognizes, the train is there, and I'm here, and there are people there, and people that are there are not an accident. It's good that they're there, and they have to come out. And the people that are here, it's right that they are here, and we have to go in. And therefore, this whole thing is not perplexing. It's a real situation. It's not that I have obstacles and I have to break through the obstacles. Like I pointed out to you, I think a long time ago. You drive on a highway, and the highway is heavily populated with cars. It's a heavy traffic, and the traffic is holding you back. And you get frustrated by the traffic. But you don't reflect that if not for this traffic, there would be no highway. You would be driving on gravel. If not for all the thousands of cars that are going here, they would never have built this beautiful highway. They didn't build a highway for one car. Right? The highway got built because there is heavy traffic. So you have to suffer the traffic unless you want to drive on pebble roads. So I'm saying there is a certain reality that a person really recognizes. This is it. This is the reality. And because he recognizes reality, this is why he says, hey, if you jump in there, that means that you are not living in the real world. You're not a human being. You're not really living with seichel. Okay, so we have gone through mamash these three steps: bina, chochma, and etzem. But of course, on a very low level. But nevertheless, the ideas have been discussed, and this is what he says over here: that dibur is sourced in etzem hanefesh. What does that mean? We have chochma, we have bina, we have chochma. But then we have etzem hanefesh. Etzem hanefesh means, how come my chochma sees things in a certain way? That's mean etzem hanefesh. There's the essence of the nefesh. That is a completely different level of truth than the chochma itself. Chochma understands Elokus. Etzem hanefesh is Elokus itself. And it's only translated in Chochma.
Chachma understands Elokus, or Chachma responds to Etzem Nefesh, meaning like it makes a decision that it has to go to the train, the subway, and it feels this is the right decision because that's what Etzem Nefesh tells you.
No. It's translated in Chochma. In other words, at the time when you were actually, doing it, you understand this is the right way. You don't even go to that level. It developed. When somebody told you, this is the right way to do it, you say, oh yeah, I could see that this is the right way. You know what I'm saying? You don't even think in terms of, oh, that's about nefesh, and nushi is, you could see it at the level of chochma.
Right, but when you feel it's the right thing, It's because you're using your chachma, but that which is telling you the right thing is the etzem nefesh going into the chachma. The chachma is really when you're getting into words, into your mind.
That's right. Chokhmah is when you understand based on what the essence of a human being
And that's
is.
not because you thought about it, just because you have a certain sense that it's the right thing.
Yeah. Well, on the level that you were talking about, there's not very deep chokhmah in there, and you don't have to really concentrate and get a spark of inspiration. Say, oh, that's the right thing. You know what I'm saying? But
And Bina questions why you feel this is the right thing.
no. Bina breaks down the spark, the message into details. Like we said, that Chochmah says there's no, like in back to our emotional way, there's no reason whatsoever. Not no reason. That's not the right way. The right way is to recognize that there is these two places and there are these two sets of people, and just give everything its place. And everything has to take its time. No, that's a spark of chokhmah. Everything has to take its time. Then in Bin you say, okay, so how, practically speaking, how am I going to do it? So you say, well, how you're going to do it is you're going to let them off and then get off. Where do you stand while letting them off? I stand on the side. All this comes from this principle that you defined in the initial thought. Okay, so the etzem. So I just want to get back. Can I get back to the nimshal, or you're still on the train?
No.
Okay, so the inyan is that this etzem hanefesh. This is the source of the chokhmah. Chokhmah senses has an insight of godliness. Where does it get the insight? From the nefesh. Because the nefesh is godliness, is godly, is truth. Okay. But there is a difference in, even though Chokhmah is reflecting the nefesh, but Chokhmah is what's called a koyach ha-nefesh. And koyach ha-nefesh means this is where the nefesh is translated at the level of Chokhmah. And dibur is actually the ability to think and understand is a koyach nefesh. The ability to speak is an expression of the nefesh itself.
Well, you said talking to the prayer and nefesh, which means that's how the nefesh expresses itself
At that level. But this is only a translation of the nefesh, like in Chokhmah. Whereas in Dibur, speaking, this is this is what's called source in the Etzem HaNefesh, means that this is actually the Etzem HaNefesh acting at the level of Chokhmah.
The ability to speak, that is the power that's
That is the power that's place. That we know that the human being is called, like we mentioned many times, not called sichli, but it's called a medaber. The medaber is what describes the human being much more deeply, much more correctly than that he's a sichli. Yes.
I didn't even get this up. Between Chokhmah is when the nefesh expresses and translates itself on the Chokhmah level.
Right.
Dibur is when the nefesh speaks.
Yeah.
It's not a translation of language.
No.
It's nefesh acting.
Right.
Or I meant to mention that you have a certain string of words come together, everything is formulated, why this, why that. But when you say certain words, you could have said it a different way. Because your nefesh is working, and that's like somewhat of that idea.
No, the words that you use, the message that you say, this is all from Chochmah and Bina. But the fact that you can express it in words, not just in the idea, but that you have it in words, not just in idea, not just in seichel, that's from the Etzem HaNefesh.
Right, and this sense, that's what is also the sense to know that this is the right thing. Like you're saying.
The Etzem HaNefesh is beyond knowing that it's the right thing. The Etzem HaNefesh is, there's only one thing. It's the essence of truth. When you say it's the right thing, it means that there is a question.
You know what I'm saying? When you sense, you sense that it's the right thing to walk in the subway. When people walking out, where does that come from?
You sense that this is not the right thing. All of that, that's already in your seichel.
So what?
But the question is, why do you sense it?
When we speak, our speech can be put into different ways. For some reason, the words come out one way instead of another way.
Yeah, that's in the Chochmah and Bina. That's in the Chochmah and Bina. That's how you express yourself. The point of the Etzem HaNefesh is not how you express yourself. The fact that you can express itself in words, that's a koyach of the Etzem HaNefesh. That's a koyach for Etzem.
I have a question of the, I don't know if it's, you just gave it as a mashal, so I don't know if it's no gay here, but it's in the Perek Abba said you should pray for the welfare of the government, because if not, then people would be swallowing each other whole. Which seems to say like that this human sense is not what causes people to wait in line on the train. It's the fact that they shouldn't get kicked in the head. So, I don't know if it's
Because they're not acting according to the human sense. If everybody would act according to human sense, it would be in much less need of government intervention.
So quickly, I was talking about it in the world where people are not acting according to their human sense, and they need the punishment.
In other words, our world. All right. So I wondered we should have, when we get into this, at least we have an idea what we're talking about. What does it mean by Atzmas HaNefesh? Shalamayla mekoyach HaChochma shebo. Atzmas HaNefesh, the essence of Nefesh, which is higher than Koyach HaChochma. Atzmas HaNefesh means that the Nefesh is in itself a truth and reality. Koyach HaChochma is how the Nefesh understands things, which is already what's called an expression, a gili from the Nefesh. V'lochein, and for this reason, because that dibur is rooted in the Etzem HaNefesh, for this reason, ha'ois is ha-dibur, the oisius of dibur, heim machrichim, the words themselves, the oisius themselves, force as koyach ha-maskil. They force the koyach ha-maskil. Koyach ha-maskil means, koyach ha-maskil is higher than chokhmah. Koyach ha-maskil is that in the nefesh which makes the chokhmah understand. Lovoi begilui, to bring out and to bring forth begilui. Gam ma she'i efshar liyizgalis mikoyach ha-maskil mitzadatzmei. I'm not singing the words correctly over here. Let's go back a little bit. Hey machrichim, the dius is adibur, a machriach, force, as koyach hamaskil love begili. They force the koyach hamaskil itself to come forth begili. Gam, even ma sheyev shel yizgaves mikoyach hamaskil mitzadatzmei, that which is impossible to be revealed from the koyach hamaskil by itself, on its own initiative, arei hu mizgale, yet it becomes revealed. Mitzad hechrach oisi is hadibur. Because with the force of the Esis hadibur. Okay.
Before you said it was the lack of content of the letter, so they were abundant, you could build anything with them, and that's what forced the
Right.
Hamas to go through them. So
Well, now we are close to the point where the Rebbe himself is going to explain it. Okay? But you can readily understand that that's why I gave us a little bit foresight so that we should be able to go through all of this discussion, that when you have an idea of building a house, and you have an idea, you design things and all that in your mind. But in order to design it down to the last brick, and to actually bring it down to the point where you can start laying bricks, you have a totally different reality of the house than when you perceive it in your imagination. When you perceive a house in your imagination, you perceive the beauty of the house, the conveniences that it offers, and whatever else. When you start designing it to the point of bricklaying, then you begin to think, only then you begin to think of the house in terms of, how am I going to enter this house? How is it going to stand? How am I going to enter it? How am I going to go to the second floor? What's going to support this wall and what's going to support it? How is it going to be real that I can live in it? Not how beautiful is it, how well conceived it is, but how is it going to be practically used? Which means you're now dealing with what? With simple reality. Not this concept, but simple reality. And when you begin to deal with simple reality, when you are relating this concept to a brick, to something that has nothing, nothing else to say, I'm just a brick. Then you begin to know, the brick doesn't know that he is serving a certain purpose. He just knows I'm a brick. You have to be able to formulate your house to the point where you just know that it's a brick. That's, in other words, you think in the house, this is where you think of this house as a universal truth. It can actually be expressed in a brick, not just in your concept. That's how it is. It's real. Okay, we'll start the next part. Obiyor ho'inyan. Obiyor ho'inyan. Okay. So far we have just brought this thing, so to speak, to the head. Now, what is behind all of this? How is it? We have shown that Dibur is able to bring out, so to speak, the deepest, not only the deepest of the seichel, but the essence. But what's like behind it? Bir ho'inyan hu, the hine, lichoire yifle, seemingly, lichoire means seemingly. Yifle, it is wondrous. Meaning we cannot really pin it down and understand. Kol inyan hamshochas ha'oir v'iridosai. The whole concept of oir coming down, being nimshach, to be drawing down, v'iridosai, and the fact that it actually descends, Ma sheyored ubo the fact that the oil descends and it comes down lehoyir bekelim, to be contained in kelim, v'oisiyos, and letters, shezehu hepech tivoi, which is something which is hepech tivoi, which is contrary to its nature, to the nature of oil. So how is it that oil comes, it could be drawn down and descend into oisius and kalim, something that is to descend down in kalim is actually hepech tivoi, is contrary to its very nature. What does this mean? What are we talking about? Oir, Hamshachas oir, and it's hepech tivoi. So, okay, I'm just going to go through a couple of lines just that we should get into it and we'll go back. The teva ha'oir hu, because the nature of oir is la lois lemailo, to rise up, upwards, ulahidovek v'lhikolel bimkoyvek, to connect and to be actually included in its source. That's the nature of light, of the light. Why is that the nature of the light? Ki yodua, because since what we know, the chol hamshochas oir, that any situation, any concept of hamshochas oir, of drawing a light, gam k'moy shenimshach min hamoir, even at the point where it is first drawn from its source, the moir, the source of light, the luminary, ve'hu bevchinas gilui ha'helem, the oir reveals that which was contained within the moir in a concealed way, helem. Shehu inyan ilo v'ol. This inyan of Gilui HaHelem, revealing that which was first concealed, is a principle, inyan, this is the principle of ilo v'olul. Ilo means the cause, and olul means the effect. There's that which causes, which is the source, and that which is the result. Obeyilo v'olul, and in a situation of ilo v'olul, teva ha'olul, the nature of the olul, the nature of the effect, the nature of the result, is l'hidovek bi'ilosei, is to be connected to its source, to its cause. Okay. And hence, and therefore, since it is a union of ilo v'olul, oir and moir is like ilo v'olul, and the nature of olul is to be connected to its source. Therefore, how come it comes down lamato, into Kelim? Its nature is to rise upwards to its source. What brings it down? Okay, one more time. Believe me, we'll have a chance. We took a bite, now we have to chew it up. All right? But before we go into this, I just want to, we're talking about oir. I want to translate this into our simple terms. You're thinking of something. You're involved in your thought. and you're understanding it. You're getting involved in the thought deeper and deeper. Why would you want to go and explain it to someone else? You want to be involved in your thought. What's compelling you to go and explain to someone else? And yet, there's the story of the Rakachover Gaon. You heard of Rakachover Gaon? Everybody heard of Rakachover Gaon? He was a tremendous Gaon. And he said, besides being a Gaon, he was also a big Yerushalayim, he was a big Rav. And he said that the most difficult day for him in the week is Shabbos. Because every day, when he has a thought, he can immediately jot it down. And Shabbos he can write. So he has the pain that he can't express these thoughts as they are flowing in his mind. He can't jot them down. Why would he want to jot them down? You're involved in your thoughts. What's compelling you to bring it down in words? Something is compelling this whole union, that the oil, which wants to rise upwards. In other words, you naturally want to go deeper and deeper to its source. And yet, no, there's something compelling it that should come down. To come down to a point where he wants to be able to write it down. And that's the fact of it. The nature of the seichel, the nature of the oil is going upward, but something else is compelling, is pushing it downwards. What is it that's pushing it downwards? Okay? I just did.
Did you explain?
Doesn't seem to be, I don't know.
Press it again.
He said to me once, okay, now it works.